Welcome back to another episode of The Jaley Show. Yes, I'm excited. I'm sorry about that, but this show is a little bit different for us because it's an omnibus. Yeah, omnibus. If you've ever seen your favorite sitcom or your favorite show going out on the Saturday, on the Sunday, they slam them all together and do an omnibus episode where they replay them and it's 3.5 hours long. This is our version of that show. After 3 wonderful, glorious years of releasing shows every other week, we're finally taking a little break here at GLPro. The Jaley Show is taking a short hiatus so we can come back bigger, stronger, faster, better, whatever acronym you want to use, whatever metaphor you want to use. I'm going to come back with a whole bunch of new guests. It's going to be very exciting. But to finish out the show, what better than to show you a bunch of episodes you may not have seen with phenomenal guests, not the most phenomenalists, just some phenomenal guests. So if you've been on this show and you're thinking, hey man, I didn't get to be on that show, don't worry about it. It's okay. Don't you panic. We got you. There's another omnibus one in the future. So check out this show. We have just great guests, including the wonderful Lea Turner, Kobi Omenaka, Harry Hugo, and Mr. Brian Burns. Plus, I'll be introducing each bit and pieces. Without further ado, check out the Jaley Show Omnibus. Ooh. And we are live. Yes, that's right. We are live and welcome back to another episode of The Jaley Show. This episode is slightly different as we are closing out 3 wonderful years of every other week of having just brilliant guests on. And The Jaley Show is going to take a wee hiatus where we revamp, rebrand, something else, and essentially kick this off bigger, better, and faster and stronger next year. So what we're going to do in this episode is have a callback. You know those wonderful episodes of Friends when they jump back into previous episodes of the season? Well, this is exactly that. So we're going to have some of the great guests that we've had on the show, not the bestest, just some of my favorites, over the next hour, jumping back into the last 3 years and picking out some real cream of the crop. I want to say a real honest thank you to everyone who's been part of the show, commented on the show, joined the show, watched the show. I'm sat here shouting at a camera, right? And you don't always get the feedback. People send messages. They say thanks very much. They say that there's value in the content, and we appreciate that so very, very much. But it's hard to know that anyone out there is watching sometimes when you've done a show for this long, if you're getting out there. And those people who have sent those comments through, who've said thanks very much, have suggested new guests, has just been excellent, right? It's helped the show grow. It's helped us realize that it is something worth continuing. And it makes all the hard work that, not me, because I just sit here for an hour and chat shite, but the guys behind the scenes, Mason Carter, Tony Good, and Richard Joslin, the wonderful Mr. Jonathan Laws, have all do to make this what it is. It really validates us. So a huge thank you to everyone out there. Without further ado, let's talk about this week's show. So there's no guest. I'm not going to introduce a guest, but I have 4 guests. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. So our first guest is someone that I'm sure you know if you've been on LinkedIn. It's nearly impossible to have not seen the wonderful content that she releases. So back in August of 2020, we recorded this during the height of lockdown and was actually the second show that we did together. So this guest is Lea Turner, and what we talked about was how to make content fun, right? Add a bit of personality in there. Doesn't all have to be like LinkedIn was 5-6 years ago when it was just CVs and people giving company updates. Like, it is okay to be yourself. And if anyone is a master of that, it's Lea. She's unashamedly herself at all times. And that's why she's seen such success. If you are not following Lea already, please go and check her out on LinkedIn. The value she gives, LinkedIn and Instagram and TikTok, I believe as well. The value she gives on everything is just fantastic, right? You can literally have things that you can learn from every single day. I started following Lea on Instagram And the tips I get from there are just as helpful as the long form things I actually read on LinkedIn. So you got to check out Lea. She's just brilliant. She's also just one of those beautiful people, right? When you talk to her, she's giving, she cares, she actually wants to help out. There's a lot of influencers out there who are more interested in the likes and comments and followers that they get than actually, being a human being and being a wonderful person. So I know for a fact, if you message Lea, thank you, Mike, on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, she's everywhere, right? She's killing it across the board. But if you message her, she is actually, I can only imagine how many messages she gets on a daily basis, and yet she'll still reply and be willing to have a conversation with you. So probably the best thing to do here is for this guy to shut up and to pass you way back to August 2020, when the wonderful Miss Lea Turner was there.
Well, I think what's really interesting is your initial concept of LinkedIn, having the logo up. I don't belong here, and that kind of was what LinkedIn was like. Like I've been on LinkedIn for a decade or so, and used it kind of as part of a tool around here and there. But it was that kind of corporate feeling, and there used to be tons of people who would always post, this isn't Facebook. This isn't Facebook. Don't post personal stuff. But no, I know. But I'm starting to see that that part of the community is dying out, because everyone that I speak to on this show who's got a killer profile, who's actually doing business on LinkedIn and being successful, people aren't posting like, good news, our new $9.99. The people aren't just selling to people. The people who are successful are themselves. And I think everyone's unpuckering the butthole a little bit, man. Like, I think it doesn't have to be ties and boardrooms in LinkedIn, because guess what? Like, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm not wearing a goddamn tie, and you can't make me.
One of my favorite things is when I see a certain demographic of people, like the more middle-aged older guys that were very corporate, when I see them commenting saying, actually, do you know what, I've started posting a bit more personal stuff, and I'm really enjoying my newsfeed changing, and I'm really enjoying this more personal interaction. And when I see that, and they're like, do you know what, I used to be corporate, I used to hate all this Facebook content, and now I've actually got involved in it, and it's really fun. You're just like, well, lighten up a bit. It doesn't have to be all serious. How boring would LinkedIn be if it was just CV, advert, join my webinar? It's so dull.
I was on it. I was on it when that's all it was. And it wasn't.
I never bothered with it before. Yeah. And then I started scrolling through, I was like, oh, dog picture, oh, meme, oh, someone's talking about a really inspirational story that they've overcome something. And I'm like, I'm here for this.
Yeah.
I'm here. I want the business. I want the inspiration. I want the education. But I also want a bit of fun and personality. I want to see who the people are. I want to know the exciting things that they've done that week, whether it's about business or their kid had they've just had a granddaughter or whatever it is. I want to know all of it.
Totally. Yeah, totally, 100%. And it doesn't have to be that disconnect between like, oh, I'm going to go here for business, and then I'm going to log off, and I'm going to go over here and have funsies, because I like spend my life on LinkedIn because it's part of my business. So what, I can't have fun all the time? Come on. Yeah. That doesn't seem right. That doesn't even vaguely seem right.
One of the things that it's just popped into my head, but I sort of think with Facebook, people say, oh, it's not Facebook. But on Facebook, when you're posting something and interacting with people, you're interacting with people that you already know. Whereas on LinkedIn, you're interacting with people that you don't know. So if you walk into a pub on a Friday night and you just stay with your group of friends and you don't talk to anybody else, like, you might have a fun night, but you're probably not going to have as much fun as if you start making some new friends. So LinkedIn's like, you can still have those conversations, but you're making new friends who are potentially business leads. So why not spend your time with the people that you might do business with?
And also, like, people buy from people. People have always bought from people long before social media, long from anything. It was about like, I want to buy from that person, not that person. Everyone sells the same thing, right? If I want to go and get tires, I've got 55 places to get tires. I want to work with you because you spent 5 more minutes with me because I'm an idiot and don't know what tires fit on my car. Great. Yeah, exactly. You're now my person, right? Exactly. But then, and that's why people work with us. Like, I swear a lot. And if you don't like this, then please don't work with me, because I'm like it all the time. Why not put that out? Like, why not put that out, right? Why not put that out? And that way, when people do want to work with you, they're you're like straight away having funsies and having a giggle. Like you and I, when we've been talking, we've been taking the piss out. We've literally been taking the piss out of each other for every message, right? That's the same relationship I want to have with any of my clients. I want them to have a bad day and be like, yo, how you doing? And us have half a laugh and be like, cool, see you later, you know?
I feel like in the past as well, there was a lot less choice.
Yeah.
50 years ago, 20 years ago, there wasn't 100 choices for everything that you bought. You couldn't go to 100 different places. And now there is. So we're drawn to work with people that we already have an existing rapport with. So I always say that to people in my coaching as well. It's like that you will more likely do business with somebody that you have an existing rapport and a bit of trust with than a complete stranger. So you meet the guy in the grey suit who hands you a business card and tells you everybody loves him, or you've got a friend or someone that you actually know and other people are endorsing them, and you know a little bit about their story and respect them. You're going to go to them. You're always going to go to them. Not the grey suit that just says, hey, yeah, I'm great at this. You want the people with the credibility.
Yeah.
The people that you're familiar with, that you've seen on your newsfeed and you've had a little chat with in the comments every now and then.
And even then there ends up being 5 different people who have the credibility, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool, and that you're all offering the same service.
Yeah.
Then I pick the one I want to work with.
Yeah. Then you pick them based on their personality, don't you?
Exactly, which I just can't get from if you're going to post company posts saying like, you know, here's our about us. Go to our contact page. Like, nah, I want to hear someone be like.
This is what I said to Mark the other day, because I had a chat with Mark Gaisford, and I said, and loads of people went, oh yeah, when you go onto LinkedIn, it is a platform full of salespeople. Everybody is selling and nobody intends to buy, generally speaking. So if you're just constantly putting out sales pitches to a load of salesmen, it's like having the same double glazing salesman at your door 4 times a day. You're going to tell them to piss off. You're going to get cross. You don't want to be that guy. So instead, you want to subtly suggest to people with the stories of your life, you want to say to them, look at the kind of journey that I've been on. Look at this credibility I have in my industry.
Yeah.
I'm offering you some value back. I'm maybe making you laugh or maybe making you feel good in some way. And they're the people that you remember. And when you do need to buy double glazing, you go to that person that hasn't nagged the fuck out of you for the last week.
Right, exactly. Because and also those are people get blocked. That's the whole thing. If you're selling all the time, I just stop engaging with you and I'm out. So unless you catch me the first 3 times that you try and sell at me, if that's all that you're releasing, you're done and I'm out. Whereas if I don't need to buy something today, but I'm going to connect with you and be like, idiot, love it, hilarious, right? Then in 6 months' time, when someone else asks me, do you know someone who helps out with LinkedIn coaching? I do. I follow, and she's crazy, but you're going to love her, right? And that's the whole point, isn't it?
I've got 35,000 miniature adverts out there that are tagging me in posts, and I get someone posts about wanting a transcriber. I get 10 tags in it, and of course, who are you going to contact? The person with 10 tags or the person with 1?
All day long, right? There's not even a conversation. And the really interesting thing is, again, I worked in sales before social media was as prevalent as it is now. You would have to work your entire career 6 times over to get 35,000 people in your network that you can kind of get in touch with on a daily basis.
Exactly.
You'd have to kill yourself. That'd be crazy.
It would be really weird.
So you found out you had 10,000 connections. Everyone was like, wow. And you're like, yeah, it's how I roll. So how did that turn into something that to start teaching people and coaching? Are you just literally looking over the last few months of mistakes and saying, here's where I succeeded, here's where I failed? Like, what are some things you're helping people with?
So I never went into LinkedIn with a strategy for success for getting all these followers. It's been an absolute byproduct. It's exciting and it's really interesting to see it happening, and quite intimidating and a little bit stressful handling that much engagement on all of my posts. But if I'm completely honest, I kind of went back and I started analysing what I was doing and why it was succeeding, and thinking, okay, if I'm thinking a bit more practically about it, what was I doing? What was connecting with people? What was getting the people in my DMs saying, what you're saying is really inspiring me? And I started looking at it and thinking about it, and a few people had messaged me. I'd spoken to a few people, actually a lady that was in my industry, and she was struggling. And I said, well, why don't this has worked for me? And she went off and she felt very happy. And she'd actually been training with somebody else, doing some LinkedIn training, and felt really disillusioned with it. And so I gave her some tips, which she found, I think, that felt better for her, like more personal. And I'd done the same for a few other people. And someone said to me, well, why aren't you charging for it? Like, why don't you charge to do this? Because people will pay you to do it. You've got the credibility, you're walking the walk. Because there's a lot of people out there in training that don't have a lot of engagement. And of course, they'll tell you that engagement doesn't matter, but how are you reaching new audiences if you're not getting engagement? Like, they'll say numbers doesn't matter, but how do you, if you're just reaching the 10,000 people every time you post, where are you finding brand new clients? So, exactly. I thought, well, I might as well give it a go. So I posted about it and said, would there be anybody that would be interested in it? And I had tons of people that said, yes, absolutely, we'd really be interested in it. And I thought, well, typing is low, and I have bills to pay and a son to support, and I'm on my own. So I thought, well, I'm kind of, if I've got all these people saying they would pay me to do it and I don't do it, I'm just stupid. Like, away from a load of money. So, I'm not stupid. So I thought, well, I'll give it a go. And I had a first session with a guy called Cedric. And I think most people watching will have seen him popping up in his GIFs all over the place. He's amazing. And he was quite similar in that he didn't feel able to be himself. And now, my gosh, he's like the sass queen of LinkedIn. He is everywhere. I love seeing him everywhere. It was almost like I kind of unleashed this personality that and that's the same. It keeps happening. People are saying to me, I feel uncomfortable bringing myself to the platform because I feel like I'm going to be ridiculed or that it doesn't belong.
Sure.
And then when they start doing it, they realize what a warm response they get, how much everybody gets engaged, and they go, oh, this actually feels really good, and their confidence comes up. There's been a few people, their confidence has just been so lifted. And some of them have just gone off the scale. They've had like seriously viral posts.
Wow.
Like, one lady had her first post after we spoke went to 1,500 reactions, or more than that, I think.
Oh, lovely.
It was, and she'd never had more than like 60 or 70 before.
Phenomenal.
And it's been really mad. Like, that doesn't happen for everybody, but when people are putting in the work and really like applying the things that I'm talking about, it is really, really working.
There it is. The wonderful Lea Turner. What I love about Lea, and I've said this many, many times, and God knows I'm going to say it 1,000 times again, Lea isn't someone who is training because they didn't have anything else to do. As that clip showed, Lea is doing LinkedIn training because people were begging her for it because she was doing so well at it, right? It's like an athlete. It's like a pro athlete doing PT, right? That's what you want. Like, give me Tyson Fury as my PT and I bet I get in shape, right? Well, Lea is the Tyson Fury. It's a strange comparison. Lea is a Tyson Fury of LinkedIn because she has done it, right? Literally from her own skill, just working it out from doing it. She's then become a trainer, not like the 1,000 people that you'll see on LinkedIn who have zero engagement, tell you that's not important, don't run any other platforms, and are still there to like tell you this is how you're done. You're doing it wrong. And you look at their content and be like, you sure? Because it looks like you might be doing it wrong. Like, I look at Lea's content and I emulate creating stuff that's personal. I'm not as quite as open as she is and able to, even after this many podcasts every other week, I'm not able to be as quite, put my heart on the sleeve and be that personal, but it obviously works. And, it's not just, it doesn't just work for Lea. I've spoken to so many of the people who've been through her courses. I've sent our employees to Lea to be like, learn LinkedIn. She knows. Go. And remember, the reason I had Lea on, this was that clip was actually from the second time Lea was on. The first time she was on, I wanted her on the show because I was like, wow, I connected with you and you had like 5,000 followers. I looked 3 weeks later and now you've got like 10,000. And then by the time the first show happened, she was at 25,000 or something huge, right? By the time that happened, it was 60, 70,000. So it was that actual real growth which made me say, like, okay, well, do you want to come and tell the peeps about it? And just in the time between booking that show and having her on, huge amounts more growth. And this was before she'd even jumped into actually like training people on LinkedIn. So if you need to know more about LinkedIn, if you want to get more leads, if you actually want to get some engagement and start using LinkedIn to be helpful, Lea's the place to go, right? She will give you the information you need. Her services have been expanding and increasing ever since. So check out our website. We'll put links in the comments for those of you listening after the fact. But check out our website. There's a whole wonderful bunch of services. Dig deep into your pocket. She's worth every single penny because you're just going to get a huge amount of value out of it. Enough about Lea, because I could talk about Lea forever because she's awesome. Who else is awesome? Well, that's a great question because this show is full of awesome people. That is how we're rolling today. Awesomeness followed by awesomeness. It's a little awesome sandwich with 2 pieces of awesome bread and a piece of awesome in the middle. The next piece of awesome is my wonderful friend and long-term podcaster, Kobi of Omenaka. So Kobi was actually run one of the first shows that GLPro ever produced, ever. In a shed. Right, so we used to work in this momentously big shed, summer house type. It's a big shed. It's the biggest shed you've ever seen. But there was like 7 people working out of that shed, and it was hot and sweaty and a little stinky. But Kobi ran a show called Star something, which was his very first like foray into podcasting. We were producing that show, and then all of a sudden he had this idea for FlixWatcher. And FlixWatcher essentially is, especially back then, Netflix was brand new. And if anyone had Netflix when it first started, you remember that it didn't have the thing you looked for, but it did have the sequel or the threequel or a random other movie, which is kind of similar. So it wasn't as easy to go onto Netflix and find something that you really, really wanted to watch. So FlixWatcher was basically a review show going through those shows and actually talking about, like, did you like it? Did you like it? And they had a rating system to come out. So me and Tony were guests on the show way back when, and it was really difficult to even come up with a movie, right? What movie we're going to choose. And if I remember correctly, I was trying to be a fancy pants podcaster back then, super serious, which obviously isn't my speed. And I chose The Talented Mr. Ripley. I thought this is something that I can talk about an awful lot. I've heard your show, Cobestar Digital. I know how serious you are, Kobi. Let's do the same thing. Tony, my best mate, business partner, just quite frankly, the nicest person you're ever going to meet. And I'm thankful every day that I get to hang out with him. He picked Jet Li's The One. Now, if I'm going to be honest, I haven't watched The Talented Mr. Ripley since that show. I've watched The One like 11 times since then. It is amazing. Jet Li kicks ass against the only person who can stop him kicking ass, Jet Li. So we did a double header and recorded both shows of Kobi, and it was great fun. And it really reminded me how much fun podcasting can be. What's amazing about that show is it is still running today, and the guests have gone far and wide. This guy and his business partner. There is a ton of famous people on there. So if you enjoy movies, if you enjoy great conversation, if you like podcasts, FlixWatcher is the place to go. Go and check out Kobi. The content is great. The guests are fantastic. Some huge names in podcasting and film. So go and check that out. This episode was recorded way back when in April 2021. So I think we are pretty much still locked down, I'm afraid, at this stage. And yeah, FlixWatch has been running for about 250 episodes now. So if you find one you like, the good news is there's 249 others to listen to. Unfortunately, 4 of them are going to be with myself and Tony, but hey, they might be good too. So without further ado, the wonderful, the phenomenal, the fantastic Mr. Kobi Omenaka. A podcast that has been running for 200 episodes is a really old podcast now. Like, how many podcasts make it past episode 50?
Well, yeah, it's supposed to be like 8. Well, not many. It's a massive. It's supposed to fail by episode 12 or something like that.
That's right. Pod fading. It literally is a whole new term of pod fading, because so many shows start and disappear after in double digits. Like, forget getting to 100. Forget getting to the double centurion. But content as a whole wasn't like a conversation then.
No.
Like, so something like a podcast was as a fun outlet type thing. It was like a YouTube video series. It wasn't seen, I didn't quite realize podcasting was going to branch off and become its own genre, its own staple in the world.
Content marketing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And then the fact it would be so, useful with regards to the content marketing as well, but it just became its own beast. Never thought it happened. I just, I thought it'd kind of be amalgamated into radio, or it'd be eaten up by YouTube or something.
Yeah, for me, it was just it's like a creative outlet. Which, because like I said, I've been blogging for a while, and not that I don't like blogging anymore, but you have to get into a weird kind of headspace to think, right, I'm going to sit down and write this thing for like a few hours and then post it. Whereas for me, it's more natural to be speaking to other people about films and have that camaraderie and then post it out there. So it became a more natural way for me to get stuff out there.
Well, and that's why podcasting's so helpful for content, for content marketing. Take it all the way back into business, and why it's so helpful is because it's very easy. It's a meeting. Right. Yeah. All we've essentially doing here for this live show is we've set out a Zoom call. It's not a Zoom call, but you know what I mean? But it's just a video conference call that we happen to be broadcasting. There's no difference to that. But it's also a reciprocal thing. I can run out of stuff to say and to pick it up and carry on that conversation. Whereas if I'm sitting to write a blog, it's just me trying to get something out there. And it's like a comedian who's not gone on stage and actually worked out the jokes. I'm just writing it and being like, love it. But at least with the podcast, you can feel the ebbs and flows of the conversation. You can go through it. But the learning piece, I think, is so interesting. I don't know any podcaster, even it doesn't matter about what the subject is or like what the subject matter is. Every podcast host I know loves to learn. Like conversations, you learn so much, even if it's just I learn about the person I'm talking to, not not some life skill or mind-bending new ability, but opens that side of the mind just to like have a space open to learn, to remember information, to kind of absorb stuff. And I love how that kind of like feeds back into life. Like I find you speak to other people and who are podcasters, it's an easy conversation and they're up for learning. They're up for being part of that conversation as well.
I mean, that's why when I got my first iPhone, which is when I super dived into podcasting, listened to podcasts. And that's when I was like, I noticed like a distinct shift from a lot of the type of TV I was watching, for example. So all the kind of chat shows, I don't watch them anymore. And I find them super tedious. Because now with podcasts, you can have an hour with Tom Hanks talking about his whole life rather than the 4 minutes that he's got to promote his thing and a stupid anecdote. And
a quick anecdote of like, oh, didn't you have some burritos recently, Kobi?
Yeah, it's like, tell us about that caravan. That caravan you bought in Skegness.
Yeah. You won't find it funny at all. No, exactly. That's very, very true. And I love chat shows. Like I love, which is kind of why I adore podcasting, because I love like conversations. And you're right, because podcasting has destroyed. Like I watch Jimmy Fallon or I watch The Tonight Show, or I'm sure if you're even watching like Parkinson and stuff from back in the day now, would be like, why are you bringing someone else out? What Billy Connolly's done? He spoke for like 4 minutes. Like, I love the long form chat, and especially that you get to see behind the curtain. No one can really keep up a facade for over an hour.
No, that's listen to people. Mark Maron, for example, he's the legend of this. He's probably the best of this. Other podcasts are fallen by the wayside because the hosts now, to me, are a bit dubious. So I've stopped listening to them. But Mark Maron is one of the people. He clearly says like, sometimes I know the name and I know a few films I've been in. And each episode, he dives in and he pulls some nuggets out there. And like you say, people have a front for maybe 5-10 minutes. But after that 10 minutes, you go in deep down, and it's and you'd be amazed where that goes if you're up for the journey.
Yeah, and you've got to be very, very practiced to be able to have a conversation that people are able to see, not just a conversation between you and I in a back room somewhere where, like, did he say that? I don't know. But like a recorded piece of content going out there. You've got to be very practiced to keep that up for 20 minutes, half an hour of Russell Brand is my favorite example of it.
Sure.
Him on the Joe Rogan show, he's on. Like I'm quite a fan. Like I love words. I love language as a whole, and he's quite, a real master of it. For the first half hour of a show when he was sat with Joe Rogan, and which was a 3.5 hour show. He's on, and it's like he's so on. It's hard to understand him. I'm pulling out my thesaurus trying to work out what you just said 2 minutes ago, right? But after about half an hour, 40 minutes, he's slipped into it's him. It's the same conversation that his friend Jane has with him when she sits down with him, and that's
when they're on the bus.
Yeah, when they're on the bus, exactly, and they're sitting drinking a can of Coke or something. And I love that about podcasting. I think it was. I didn't realize there was such a big hole for this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there's more and more of it. And I think Louis Theroux brought out his podcast, and he's big for big documentaries. His documentary is amazing, but then also he could show how he applies it in this format in his podcast, which is an hour 10 minutes per episode, and he pulls out the same kind of insane picks from people in that hour time versus the months it would have taken to do the same kind of documentary about the same subject, about the same person.
Exactly. So, yeah. And the multitude of people as well. The thing I'm loving, and the pandemic was great for that, because a lot of people who would never have had the time to do podcasts have started it. I'm a huge Fake Doctors, Real Friends podcast.
The
same. Scrub Show. Just
same.
Loved
it.
Absolutely
magnificent.
I think it's potentially one of the finest examples of a podcast and a podcast evolution. Like you could see it at episode 1, episode 10, episode 20. They've got new segments. They've got new bits. They've jumped into that.
The producers speak more, and they have their own personalities. And now there's a spin-off podcast. There's the Star Wars one coming out with those guys.
It's amazing.
They've just done a live show.
So cool.
Yeah. So it's great. And sorry for the guys who are listening. The Fake Doctors Real Friend is Zach Braff and Donald Faison. And I loved Scrubs back in the day. And I'm a big fan of Recap podcast as well, because I'm a big film and TV nerd. And it's great when you get people who are involved in the show talking about the show you're a big fan of. But this doesn't even tell you really about what Fake Doctors Real Friends is about, because it's a whole different kind of beast. Nowadays they talk less and less specifically about the episodes. And you'll get through the episode and they'll tell you a story about it, but then the conversations they have, talk about Black Lives Matter, talking about Trump and stuff, and the guests they have on there is really, really it's just a fun show. And I think the title "Fake Doctors Real Friends" really does say just those two friends that are the backbone of, and happen to be talking about Scrubs now, and that's what it is.
And what's amazing about it is there's podcasts like that elsewhere, and there's podcasts with the stars of the show, but it's usually periphery people from the show. I'm also a big fan of Talking Sopranos, because I love The Sopranos. But that's, admittedly, Tony Soprano, James Gandolfini isn't alive, so he can't be on the show. But it's two of the other characters.
It's Michael Imperioli, isn't it? And the guy who played Bobby Bacala.
Absolutely.
That's it. The guy who played Bobby Bacala. That's the problem with it.
Steve Sciarretta.
Yeah, there you
go. No, exactly. And what's very interesting about that dynamic is that it's an actor and an actor-director. And because of that, they have very different kind of views on it. But that is much more an actor and director's watch through of a show they're in, whereas Fake Doctors Real Friends is a true podcast, because, as you say, they're no longer having to stick to the safety of the script for that show, or the 30-minute what was released. For me, the thing I love about it is it's a view into TV, because it's the two stars of the show. They have star power. Their guests are all of the people in the show. It's not the third AD that they managed to get because they know him and he's free. It's the showrunner is now a big part of the show. And
Bill Lawrence.
Exactly. Who is phenomenal and a real hero of mine as well. And being able to hear like the dynamics behind things is such a wonderful thing. But it's so interesting how that has only come out from free time. There's free time. Like, they weren't making movies, so they had the ability to be like, do you want to jump on some remote calls while we're all locked down? It is now one of the most successful shows.
And it's good that it seems that they're getting work out of it as well, because now their notoriety, or people listen to more as actors and as, I guess, freelancers. And this is part of why I started Kobi Digital podcast as well, is that it puts you like top of mind of people. And now when people and Donald Faison's on Powerpuffs, which is a gig he didn't have when he started, and I think that they keep bleeping out some of the stuff they've been offered, because they're just so excited that we offer these really cool gigs. Yeah. And that's what I say to some people. It's like, when going back to Kobi Digital, A few of the people I interviewed for the show then came back like 2 months later, like, hey, we've got this project on. Do you want to work with us on it? I was like, yeah, fine. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting more down the learning side of like, I don't know how to do this properly yet. I'll speak to you, and then I can also share people. But then, like 2 months later, I was getting work from them, and that is something that's I've seen happening again. And I produced Twiggy's podcast, and 3 or 4 times she's been offered like, oh, by the way, Twiggy, I've got you in mind for a role, or can you do this campaign with us? It was like, yeah, sure, why not? So if you're resonating with people, and then because you don't have that facade, and people just grow to like you, I think it really does help.
Wow. Oh, sorry, just reading a little book there by a small artiste. It's my book. That was a wonderful Kobi Omenaka. As you can tell, a real podcaster, right? And I think what they really showed there at the end, how many potential opportunities can come from releasing regular content, right? By actually setting yourself out and serializing it. It's not just about putting yourself out there again and again and again. So you get to see the face, see the face, see the face, see the face. Sure, that's brand awareness. That does help. But one of the wonderful things about podcasting is the fact you get to meet people. If you're right now looking at like podcasting and being like, it's not for me, I can honestly say that if Tony and I hadn't started a podcast called How to Write a Tune, where he and I, 2 semi-failed musicians, wanted to talk to other musicians about the writing process, there wouldn't be a GLProUK. There wouldn't be a Jaylee show. I would definitely be working for someone else, right? The opportunities that podcasting has given me, not only as a podcast producer, but just from meeting people and having those conversations and having people say exactly as they did to Kobi, hey, I'm working on this thing and we spoke recently on that show. Can you do this? It's been incredible, right? It's been an amazing way. It's such a great lead generation tool as well as brand recognition, which is such a rare thing. Kobi's one of the best, and please check out Flickwatcher if you enjoy movies. If you're a movie nerd like me and him, it's a great place to go. The guests are fantastic, and it's a genuine conversation that you have like with your friends, but with some famous people, where they're talking about why they like a movie or why they don't like a movie. And to go back to what I was saying about when we were on the show and Tony picked the one, Kobi's co-host, she hated the one, right? She didn't think it was like super cool and metal and 90s or 2000s like rap metal and stuff. She didn't like any of those things that I love. She thought it was terribly bad put together, terrible CGI. And I'm going to be honest, she might have been right about a few of those points, but that's what makes a great podcast, is having a proper discussion with 2 different people. From one serialized content creator to another, and one I'm sure you've seen. So our next episode, or next clip from an episode, comes from way back. Way back. Even have to check my notes, it's so far away. So back in February 2020, lockdown was on the cusp of having a thing, but hadn't actually kicked off yet. And we were very lucky to go to this guy's office. Huge, beautiful office, see our names in lights as we came through the door, and have a real great conversation face to face, not online, as this podcast should be and will be once again, maybe even in season 4, sorry. So this guest, if you haven't checked him out, is Harry Hugo. Harry Hugo runs the GOAT agency, or the GOAT, depending on who you speak to. The GOAT are phenomenal at what they do. A true influencer agency, a marketing agency, where they put massive brands, great brands together with absolutely phenomenal influencers and put out real content. There are a lot of influencer agencies out there. Check out the GOAT. Right? If you're looking for that, that is the place to go. More importantly, Harry was a phenomenal guest because he's had like twice the career most of us have had, even though he's a couple of years younger than me. He's quite a few years younger than me. Like this incredible career with huge highs, huge lows. He went through so much to create the GOAT, and then the GOAT's gone from one thing to another and still gets to work, with his friends while making this incredible international agency. So we talked about how to do it, how to stay consistent, how to create content that actually speaks to people. And, one of the things that came out that I loved was Harry and the rest of the management team at GOAT decided to do a vlog. just decided to do a vlog, right? Vlog's not important to a business, you might say. Was to the goat. So they went full in, full, both feet first into the deep end. On the Thursday, they were coming up with the idea. The Friday, they'd hired 3 people, and the show kicked off every single day from the Monday. It's a wonderful look into agency life, and if you haven't seen the Daily Goat, go and check it out because it's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal vlog. I believe it's kicked off again recently after taking a short hiatus, but it was running for over a year, and it's just a phenomenal like look into what agency life looks like. And if you're looking to use the Goat, check out the vlog. You might see some people you're going to work with. It's a nice way into it. Without further ado, the wonderful, the fantastic, the salacious, the delicious, Mr. Harry Hugo.
I spent the evening getting as many people in for interviews as I possibly could on the Friday. Then it was 2 p.m. Friday. We'd hired our editor, not Tom. Tom came in about 3 weeks later, but we hired our editor. And then my girlfriend texts me saying, I know you're looking for a videographer. I'm currently with one. And my girlfriend she's big on TikTok, and she does like body art.
Right.
She draws on people's backs and things, like amazing art. It's amazing. God knows how she does it. But she said, I'm actually with a videographer now. I'm doing some body art on him. I was like, okay, well, ask him if he's interested. Tell him a bit about the company, and if he wants an interview, I'm available until 4. And she said, yeah, no, he is. I'll send him the address and he can come up and meet at 4. We met Matt at 4 and we hired him at 4:25 and he started Monday. We gave him 10 grand worth of camera equipment and said, we need a vlog tomorrow. And we need to post it tomorrow night.
Wow.
And that's it. We haven't
quickly.
dropped a day since. 245 days in a row since that Tuesday.
I love it. Like you say, doer. Not necessarily
Yeah,
sitting
yeah.
and doing 6 months of planning.
And our first episode is toilet. It is really toilet. But it's fun, and we look back on that. The product then versus the product now is like, it's unrecognizable what the difference is. Just as like Matt doesn't talk, it's far more cinematic, and ours is far more sort of run and gun now.
Yeah.
These are all terms that I've learned over the last 2 years.
Yeah, I know. I've heard people say those terms as well.
I've got no idea what they mean. But yeah, we're quick and dirty.
Yeah.
We're not gonna take you out for a nice date.
But and that's something I had a lot of trouble with, is actually changing to quick and dirty, because I know you wouldn't think that looking at me, but for a lot of time, Simon, who stood over there, I'm sure he'll agree, I'd be like, not good enough. What about that? There's a little thing there, micromanaging the bits because we hadn't produced much content, and the more we produced, and the more he tells me like it's done.
So
the
secret, the honest secret to our video success over the last year is the fact it's daily, and I genuinely don't care what yesterday's episode is like now. I've forgotten about it.
Yeah.
All I care about is today's episode.
Yeah.
And if you release weekly, you care about the last episode you released for 7 days.
Okay.
Which mentally is a lot more exhausting than 24 hours.
Oh, I'm living it.
You pick it apart. You watch it 3 or 4 times. You watch it different days. Lots of people talk to you about it over the course of 7 days. No one will talk to me about yesterday's episode on Sunday. Nobody.
Of course not.
They'll talk about Friday. They'll talk about Sunday's episode.
Sure.
Or Thursday's episode. Will never talk to me about yesterday's episode. So that is mentally so much better.
And almost a self-fulfilling prophecy, because it has to be so quick. It then becomes.
It is what it is.
It's got momentum to
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
and it is what it is. Yeah, exactly. And we
we forget about it. And if we have a shit day and it's awful, then so be it.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, we
Sure.
know we've got to learn. This is what it's got to be.
This one's a bit shorter than yesterday, but just get it out and we'll carry on.
Yeah, and we'd rather post a vlog than not post one.
Yeah.
We'd rather post a bad one than not post one at all.
I love that. Wow, I didn't know that you decided to do and jump so head in to then keep that discipline of it happening every day.
The only way we'd have kept doing it is if it were daily. If it was weekly or twice a week, 3 times a week, we wouldn't have the discipline to do it, because we'd have gone, well, we're not really fancying it today. Like,
yeah. And
we'll
then
shoot tomorrow.
Thursday, actually I'm quite busy Thursday. Can move to Friday. We'll do one Monday. And
Yeah.
then it slips out and isn't a thing
Yeah,
anymore.
exactly. And it wouldn't have made other people in the business as involved, because we would be picking and choosing what days, so we wouldn't be filming all the time.
Sure. As opposed to having someone walk into your office and you're like, oh, it's happening now. Is
Yeah,
it? Okay,
yeah,
cookie.
like-
Hit me.
We've got a 3 fuck off rule,
Okay.
which is if the cameraman comes in and we tell him to fuck off, he stays in until we tell him to fuck off 3 times.
Okay.
And that's when we're talking about something that can't be on the camera.
This is it. I can't be on the camera, or I'm stressed to hell and I just don't need this right now.
But some of the best content is after one fuck off. But I'm annoyed, or I'm dealing with something and I'm genuinely like, oh, just go away, mate. And then he stays there and he films like the realness of a situation where I don't want to be filmed, but that is interesting in itself.
Yeah.
And then 20 seconds later is 2 more and he's out.
But he's got that 20 seconds.
But he's got something where it's like, okay, we can build a narrative around the fact of, okay, what's going on in the business today that's making Harry stressed or Aaron stressed or whatever it is. It's interesting. Our best episode, the episode I'm most proud of is not most proud of, but one of them is our 9-minute reaction to losing a 250k pitch. And it's literally just us, me and Aaron, just talking for 9.5 minutes, trying to G ourselves up, going, it's going to be all right.
So it is the debrief of why it didn't go well.
or just us reflecting and trying to pick each other up.
We should have done that. Wish we'd had. That would have been great.
Yeah. Maybe it is better we didn't win it.
But you have to get into that kind of daily and constant content capturing to be able to capture good moments, because otherwise you're like, it's not Thursday, and also I just lost a pitch. I don't need this right now. Get the camera out of my face.
Yep.
Although I do like the 3 fuck off rule. That's pretty powerful.
It's good.
Right. So before we wrap up, I hear you know some stuff about influence marketing.
Yes.
How
supposedly.
That's what your LinkedIn profile says anyway.
That's what the Guardian said yesterday.
Okay, LinkedIn and Guardian. So if that's the case, influencer marketing globally, how do you traverse that? Obviously, it's going to be different in the US than it is the UK.
Yeah.
Different in Singapore than it is the UK.
Yeah, and that's been pretty eye-opening, to be honest. So if you think of influencer marketing at year 0, if you're in London, like pretty good understanding. Most brands are in it now.
Yep.
They're investing in it. Not investing huge amounts of money, but they're investing decent, sizable chunks. Maybe 5% of their total marketing budget.
Sure.
New York or the US is like plus 2.5 years onto the timeline. So they're investing sizable amounts of money.
Right.
They know it's the answer. They're seeing the ROI, and they've been seeing the ROI for a couple of years. And then Singapore and Asia, outside of China, are like minus 2.5 years.
Right.
And we're still in the education phase of, this is good. The rest of the world's doing it.
Trust me.
Trust me. It's gonna be, exactly. It's going really well. Despite the world knowing this is getting there, and this is it, this is what the new wave of media looks like, the understanding levels in different parts of the world, or the commitment of budget from different areas of the world, are completely different.
And is that because you're educating the market in one place and the market's desperate to work with you in the other?
Yeah, so London, people are desperate to work with us, but they're not, they're in the kind of just about to jump into the big contract. In the US, they've been in a big contract, and we're trying to convince them that we deserve that big contract, not the other people.
Okay.
And in Singapore, we're like, just give us a go.
It's like, really good.
Yeah, it's good, and let's work towards having a big contract.
Yeah.
Whereas, London is, let's get this big contract sorted.
Sure.
US is, get rid of them. They're rubbish. we should be the guys that do this.
Must be so hard because you open a new office and all of a sudden you've got to learn that.
Well, and you don't know what that looks like until you're there.
Yeah. I love the just doing it thing. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only way you can actually grow.
Yeah.
And the whole first 4 years was about grow.
So what's the next 4 years look like? Grow.
Golf. No. Growth is important for us, but consolidating what we have, expanding our services, making ourselves going from or transitioning from the influencer guys, which is what people know us as, to the social guys.
Right.
Because we believe that influence is just a core component of social media, and social media is...
Sure, if you've got a great influencer, but the actual marketing team aren't doing the job right, then...
Yeah, so we need to do it all.
Yeah.
We'll have it all, thanks very much.
Genius.
And that means that we have to be better at content creation and creative and strategy and all things that we're getting asked by clients to do more and more because we're showing all of those things in our influencer offering. But never really have shown it for a social offering, despite them being basically the same
intrinsically
thing.
linked, but not necessarily.
So more and more brands are working with us on the social capacity. So now we just need to transition that brand away from being just the influencer guys to being the social guys. So that's the next year, and then it's like, I don't know, world domination. That's
sure. Yeah, year two. First sort the thing out, and then world
get the brand
domination.
right, and then let's dominate the world.
And then the same thing.
We want to be a genuine competitor. I said it earlier. We want to be a genuine competitor to all the big guys out there, and an alternative for brands to look at and go, okay, well, we want to change things. We want to digitally transform. We want to do something actually different. Okay, well, who are the people that could actually offer us that, and then we can see that as an opportunity?
Yeah,
the guys that go. Perfect.
Harry Hugo, the man, the myth, the legend. Go and check out go and check out Harry. They release great content. As you can tell, man knows what he's talking about. Simple as that. I learned a ton in that show. And as always, all these shows are available on our YouTube and our podcasts. Check out The Daily Show. Search anywhere. Search GLProUK. You will find us. And we have all these guests available. It just shows, right? If you're going to do something on social, you need to do it. You need to commit to it. And the things that you'll learn, like the actual information, takeaways that you'll have just from doing are going to get there. I'm working with a bunch of people in the IT distribution market at the moment. And it's the thing I just keep hammering home. Start, like hit record, get something recorded. Because as Harry said in that video, the first one's going to be toilet, okay? The first one isn't going to be the one that you're talking about in a year's time. But more importantly, the more content you release, the more posts that you've posted, videos you've created, emails you've sent out. And let's be honest, this is the same with everything in life. Like the more times you've done something, you can become an expert. You want to learn to fly a plane, you have to do a certain amount of hours. You want to be an expert ninja guy, I'm sure you have to do ninja guy stuff for a long time. So commit to it, get it done, keep doing, and you'll see the results. And that's how he said, like, if they hadn't done this as a daily thing, if they hadn't done the vlog as a daily thing, it would have lost momentum. It would have lost steam. Like, it's not easy to keep the discipline of being like, yeah, we're doing this twice a month. That's difficult to do. And the feedback's going to be continuous and such. So get out there, as Lea says, as Harry says, right? Post regularly, you'll see the responses, and you'll learn so much that those posts will get better. You'll see more responses. Simple as that. Finally, guys, we have our very last guest of this wonderful Omnibus show. I'm working on the theme tune. That might not be it. So the last guest is a bit of a hero of mine, someone that long before I was creating content or running an agency, I would consume their content on a daily basis. Back when I was working as an SDR and as a sales account manager and sales director. And that man is Mr. Brian Burns. Brian has a show called The Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling. And it is exactly that. They have guests on who talk about sales. And if you're a salesperson, like, it can feel like a lonely profession. Even though you're in a big team, you're working for yourself, right? Your desk is your business. And, you know, it's all based upon you having this motivation, mentality, like the positivity to get out there and be able to like keep hammering it home. And someone like Brian Burns releases such relatable content that I bet right now for any salesperson who's being like, God, I'm struggling. I bet if you go onto LinkedIn right now and check out his profile, he's done a video today that you can relate to and say, that's exactly how I was feeling. I can't believe it, right? Wonderful content, great podcast, and more importantly, someone with, like, again, real experience. I personally hate hearing from people who don't have an experience in something. I don't want to learn from someone unless they've had real experience. It's just the way I am. It's just my experience has taught me that experienced people can give me knowledge and I can have more experiences. It's as simple as that. Brian's been doing this for many a year. He's the best there is. If you want something sold, he's probably the man to go to. However, he won't sell for you. He will show you how to sell. Check out the podcast, check out the content, check out Brian in all ways you can, because he's the man who knows. Ladies and germs, Mr. Brian Burns.
And personally, I've seen, although it is a slow burner and it's not something where you're going to get, the sort of engagement that you're getting now isn't something you're going to get by the end of Q1. However, I have seen a huge upturn from just starting to release consistent content. And that's the thing people before we were,
right.
Yeah, before we,
I can't tell you that, because it happened like the gym.
Yeah.
Right?
Going for January.
Late December, early January, you hear and do a daily video.
Yeah.
On Saturday, it doesn't post till the next week it posts 3 weeks.
Life gets in the way. February gets missed. Yeah.
Because it's like work. It is work. And so that's why I say if somebody has the audience you want, contribute to them. Comment on their stuff. Don't hijack it.
No, don't try and sell us on a post because there's nothing.
I just wrote a blog post answering this question. It's like, thank you, bye.
No. Right. Whereas if you use that same information you have in your blog post to answer the question, people will come through.
The 3 things that I notice are this, and this. And you're contributing to the author, not trying to steal or redirect everybody to you.
That's
because
it.
If they're interested, they'll follow you.
And it's also putting a little good karma out into the world. You're engaging on someone else's post. It's one of the things I see. I'm talking about it more and more, and it seems to be coming up over the last few months. But, we're a marketing agency, essentially. So we speak to an awful lot of businesses who are either doing marketing themselves or running it for them. And so many places or so many brands aren't actually social on social media. They post content and they give a like, but that's what and I was equating it the other day to that's like the grumpy guy in the bar, right? He's stood at the bar, and if someone's like, "Hey, Bill," he's like, "Hey, how you doing? Good to see you." But often that speaks to no one. That guy's not making friends,
The craziness is the people who should be on, and Jen, the CMO,
nowhere to be seen. No, exactly.
Nowhere to be seen.
Indeed.
You're missing the thing that's happening right now.
And the interesting thing about doing it as salespeople is the hardest thing that we do is do this face-to-face thing. Get to know someone. Like you and I haven't spoken since spring of last year. Jump on a call. Hey, how you doing? It's nice to meet you. Because we've met and had an interaction. Actually, the thing I found that's amazing about releasing regular content, especially video, is that I turn up to meetings now and people are like, "Jay Ludgrove," and I'm like, "You're the guy, right?"
You would not believe it that in the little micro city that I live in, people are beeping their horns. People come up to me and I'm like, I don't know this person. Hey, I was in the security right before Christmas, and I thought it was security. I thought it was TSA. It's like 5 a.m. I was new. And he goes, "Hey, you Brian from LinkedIn?"
Yeah, that's me.
As reps and as marketers, we want our audience to know us.
Yes.
Because so much of what we sell is a time thing. Right? Yeah,
well, I'll buy when I need that thing, and when I need that thing is when I need it, right?
Or when interest builds up. Because there's probably like 3 things I'm in for right now. And if one of those 3 pitched to me, I'm a buyer.
Yeah.
There's probably 100 things that I have latent pain on.
Sure.
Right. So I need, you need a bunch of dates. You need to be introduced. You need to meet for cocktails. You need to meet for lunch. You need to meet for happy hour. And then the need arises.
Indeed.
And you're the person.
Yeah. And it used to be a case where people would get to a certain level of notoriety and be able to go and speak at a conference or speak somewhere.
Yeah.
And then, then you've got the first time ever that 100 or 1,000 people see you and know who you are and you're a trusted brand. How everyone can kind of do that. It's not a difficult thing.
It's not. And I think you met the right point, the consistency and doing something that adds a little bit to someone else.
Yes.
It's not about you. You had lunch. No one cared a business trip.
No.
Or you just got an award.
No one cares what your product does.
No one, right.
Until they care.
Problem you solve. And the people problem care.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And as you were saying, there might be 3 things I'm in the market for today. Those 100 things that are burning. Once I've got those 3 there, exactly. And if you can be releasing and putting yourself in on the top of people's list. So do you use social selling as that as your mainstay now? Are you still picking up the phone and smiling when dialing?
Well, talk with pretty much everybody who joins my course come in. But I try to make it a sell.
No.
Because I only want the people who want to be in and it match. Because the last thing I want is anyone saying bad things about it or feeling pressured. I never try and close. But I still, I'm talking to reps, 5 hours, 6 hour a week, helping them with deals.
Yeah, sure.
And building more and more content for my courses. And I spent 30 years carrying a bag sitting on a plane every day.
That's a great.
It does not leave my mind. It's
and that
not like
one sentence just encapsulates.
This is my thing.
Yeah, that one sentence just encapsulates salespeople on a plane with a bag. Not knowing where you're eating lunch. So I think one of the struggles, especially with regards to content creation, that a lot of sales reps have, is getting the sign off from upstairs to actually buy into it and think it's a thing. Personally, I think it's something that sometimes you just have to show people it's working before they'll buy into it and potentially help out. But what would you suggest if people are going to go to their higher ups and say, I want to start releasing content like Brian and Jay?
At the level that it doesn't look like content.
Okay. What do you mean?
Like a LinkedIn.
Okay.
Just do one of those little texts. And if you're worried about the higher up, you're better off apologizing, trying to get permission. You can always do.
Yeah, true.
Right? If your company does have a policy and it requires them, then talk to them. I'm trying to,
of course,
trouble. And I think us in the U are a bit more rebellious than in the UK. So I don't know.
We never get in trouble, Brian.
That's what I hear.
No, but you're absolutely right. But even then, there's not that many places that have a hard and fast policy of saying you cannot post.
Right. Let's say, like, we both know podcasting really well, and you sell to chief information security officers or CMOs or CROs. Find out who has that audience. Come up with, hey, I know 3 to 5 points about whatever. Love to be a guest. Okay. Now, are you creating content or are you participating in someone else creating content? It becomes right.
Yeah.
It takes a half hour, right? And you probably know those 5 differentiators or whatever.
Sure.
Oriented. All of a sudden, now your name is of all of these people, and that's super easy.
Yeah, and the funniest thing is there is no better person to book themselves on a show than a salesperson as well. Easiest close,
right? Because I get PR and admin people, and they pick everybody from the YouTube to real estate, multi-level marketing, and it's like if it somewhat matches, I'm willing to have them on.
Because as you said, podcasters are in need. Like we're all in need of good guests.
Yeah. And especially for great content. I have a great guest on there that the audience is.
Simple as.
And everybody who's on, they go, wow, I just got 1,000 new followers on LinkedIn. It was a half hour. I think so.
Yeah, let's do an hour next time.
2,000. And that's super easy. And I've had a lot of people, let me check with my before I come on. Or after we record, can I check with my boss before you post? It's like, we've done that first.
Probably not.
Right. And it's like any boss who doesn't want their sales rep talking to their audience, how's that any different than a cold call?
Exactly. Or knocking on doors or going and seeing clients. If you can't trust that person to say it online on a show. And it always amazes me because so many businesses, we were talking about last week with on a previous show, but there's so many times where there's one person. And in small businesses like ourselves, it makes sense that, the person who is running it and has a little time and space to be able to do the content becomes the guy or the person who is like the face of it. What surprises me is in big organizations how it still ends up being one person. There's only one Mark Zuckerberg, you know? Whereas salespeople are the people with the conversation. They've done the pitch, they've had the barbecue speak, they know how to go through it, and are probably pretty good at, you know, having a conversation, hopefully.
Right, because that's what they do for a living.
Right.
They talk to people.
Mm.
Ooh, yeah, I love myself some Brian Burns. Yes, I do. Brian is an absolute master of all things sales, my personal guru. I don't have a sales trainer. I check out his podcast now and again whenever I need to refill the cup, and that is a brilliant place to do it. Like, he's the best. Not only a lovely, lovely guy, but also pretty fantastic. So that's it, kids. That's it. That's the Omnibus, man. We've just done 4 great guests over the last 3 years. I'll be honest, it was so difficult to try and find 4. At one point, we were thinking we'll just do like 30-second clips of everyone, and the show was still going to be like 2.5 hours long. So we picked 4 guests out of a hat. That is how it landed. For any of you who've been guests and didn't make the cut this time, trust me, there are more Omnibus just like this planned for next season. Speaking of next season, the Jelly Show is going to be on a hiatus now for a wee while, right? Just up until next year. Kick off at the beginning of next year with a brand new feel, look. We're going to fix some of the problems. We're going to make some new ones. And quite frankly, I cannot wait to get back on the line, speaking to people, having these great conversations. So if there is anyone that you want this idiot to speak to, send them over to me and I'll see what we can do and get them in as a guest. It's been an incredible 3 years. And like the people who work on the show today, thank you so much. But also thanks to those people who worked on it in the past. Greg Armstrong, Simon Watson. There's so many of you. I don't want to keep going on about it. But Toby Askey, you really, really made a difference on this show for a long, long time. And thank you to everyone who over the last 3 years has made it a reality. I get to walk in and as you've seen through the show, very different types of equipment, very different types of setting that we've had over the past. Sometimes it's just me on a laptop. Sometimes I'm in a studio. But overall, it's just been an incredible experience. I've met some phenomenal people and genuinely built like really, really good friendships with a number of the guests, phenomenal relationships with everyone. And like, I can genuinely say that these people are my friends now, thanks to having a great conversation that you've listened to. So thank you so much. Like and subscribe. It'll remind us when we come back to keep releasing good content for you. But in the meantime, for the last time of this season and the last time of the year, Mr. Mason, take us to the bridge, sir. Yeah. Well, there it is, kids. The wonderful, the phenomenal Lea, Kobi, Harry, and Brian. That's right, an Omnibus show is slightly different. We've got to shout out everyone's names. So let us know, what did you think? Did you love it? Do you want us to like post out a bunch more of these awesome conversations which you haven't already heard? If so, let us know. In the next couple of months, we're not going to be releasing new shows because we're taking a short hiatus to basically revamp everything, get a little more sexy, fix some of the problems that we've been trying to fix or been running and gunning for 3 straight years. So in the meantime, send through the guests you want on this show. We've already got a great big list and we are trying to add to it every single day. Also, if you're desperate for some content, why not like and subscribe? We're still going to be releasing shows, so check out the podcast, GLProUK, on all the platforms. Same with YouTube. Hit like, hit subscribe. I like it. Mason likes it. Tony likes it. Everyone in this damn building loves it. So the least you can do, hit that button for us, or don't. I'm easy either way. We know. I can tell if you've liked it, all right? I've seen it on the algorithm. Okay. Thank you again. It's been an incredible 3 years. I cannot thank everyone enough. I'm going to stop going on about it at some point, I promise. But you guys have made the show for me. The guest suggestions, the comments, the likes, and even just sending me a message every now and again to be like, hey, man, love that show has been just incredible. That is the fuel that keeps this show running. That is the fuel that's going to get us coming back after a short hiatus with a bigger, better, faster, stronger season 4. So in the meantime, check us out. We're releasing a bunch of great content, which isn't the Daily Show in the meantime, or I'll see you next year. I missed you already. Ta-ra.